Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to week 2 of storytelling. As one of your options for the art menu this week, I'm going to be showing you how to create your very own storytelling machine. Though it was originally called a moving panorama, the Crankie is an old storytelling art form that was created in the 19th century. It is a long, illustrated scroll that is wound onto 2 spools. The spools are loaded into the Crankie box, which has a viewing window. The scroll is then hand-cranked while the story is told, a song is sung, or a tune is played. Crankies come in all different sorts of shapes and sizes, ranging from super small to super big, almost like a movie screen. Today, we're going to be creating small Crankie boxes using supplies that you probably already have at home. So the first thing that we're going to do is set up our Crankie box. I like using tissue boxes because they already have a viewing window cut out for me. A viewing window is the area in which we're going to see our images moving through our Crankie box. If you don't have a tissue box on hand, you can always use a shoebox or something similar in order to create your scroll. Just make sure that you cut out some kind of viewing window for your Crankie box first. Next, we need to cut out the back of our box. In order to do this, I'm going to poke a hole in the back of my tissue box with a pencil. And then I can get in there with my scissors and take away the rest of the back. It doesn't need to be very pretty because we're just loading in our scroll from this way. So now the back of my tissue box is cut out and it's easy to reach my hand in there so that once I get my Crankie box all set up, it's easy for me to place my scroll in there in order to get it moving. So next I need to place the cranks of my Crankie box. I use either pencils or pens in order to do this. It doesn't really matter which, just make sure that whatever you're using is longer than the box that you have. And that's because we need some space in order to grab and turn our scroll inside of the box. So I'm going to punch holes for my cranks on the parts of the box where there aren't pieces coming together. So I would not put a hole here because parts of the box are coming together. So if I punch a hole here, it's probably going to make my box fall apart. So instead, I'm going to be punching holes on these 2 sides of my box. Next, I'm going to need to take a marker and I'm going to be making tick marks where my viewing window is. I don't want my cranks to go past my viewing window because then you're not seeing any of that picture. So this just helps with that. So I've already made some tick marks for where my viewing window ends, and then I just carry those marks over onto the next side. I like to make sure that my cranks sit about 2 fingers back from where my box or my viewing window is. So I'm also going to make a tick mark at the end of my 2 fingers. And I'm going to do this the same on the other side. Then I need to carry these lines until they intersect. So once I have the 2 points that are intersecting, this is where I'm going to punch my holes, right in the middle of where the 2 lines intersect. So I need to make sure that I'm taking a sharp pencil or a pen and poking it through. So now I'm through one side, and I'm going to make sure that my pencil goes down nice and straight, and I'm going to make a little dot inside of my box. So now there's a little dot inside of my box for where it's going straight through, so I'm just going to make sure again that I'm poking on that dot. And there we have my cranky box. Now that my cranky box is set up, I can start working on the scroll. The first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to have a few pieces of paper, and how many you have kind of depends on how long you want your story to be, but I usually go for about 3 pieces, so if I have extra, that's great. So now I need to make my scroll about the size of my box. So in order to do this, I just fold it to about how tall my viewing window is. So on my box, I can fold my paper in half, and that is actually perfect for how tall my scroll needs to be. Then after I fold and crease my paper, I can just cut it in half. And I'm going to repeat this 2 more times. So now I have all these long rectangles, and I'm going to connect them together so that I have one very long scroll. I'm using a glue stick in order to do this, but also feel free to use some tape, whatever you have available to you. So now I'm done connecting all of the pieces of my scroll, and you can see how you could easily make this go on forever if you wanted it to. So now I'm ready to start setting it up so that I can begin illustrating it and then finally loading it inside of my box. When I create crankies, I again need to think about the window space that I have. So what I'm going to do is first create a window space, which is going to be my leader. And this is just a term that cranky artists use to help us know where to not create any illustrations. So I'm going to mark this area out because you won't be able to see this part inside of the box because I need to account for the space that gets rolled up inside. Next, I'm going to continue to create marks for where my windows are. Every tick mark that I make will be a new illustration on my cranky. If you followed the storyboard exactly as I showed you last week, you'll have at least 9 illustrations on your cranky. 10 if you include a title slide. And then once I create all of the tick marks for the new images that I'll make on my scroll, I also need to make sure that I have at least one extra, because you need another leader space to account for what you can't see because it's rolled up inside of the Crankie to make sure that it works. Then I can cut off the extra, or if you're anything like me, I usually don't cut things apart until the very end, because sometimes I like to add things in, but it's up to you. For this example, I am going to cut it off though. So now I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to illustrate the itsy bitsy spider on my Crankie scroll, and then I'll come back and show you how to load it. So I just finished my scroll and now I'm ready to load it into my Crankie. So in order to load it, you need to make sure that you're thinking about how it's going through the scroll. So instead of going from side to side, I decided that my story is going to crank upwards. So I need to make sure that the pictures are going to be able to be seen through the window of my scroll. So I'm going to flip it on its face. And I'm going to push it inside of the scroll. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the end of my scroll to the pencil. Next, I need to load the scroll. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to twist my pencil inside of my Crankie box. Oops. Then what you need to do, you're going to fish it through on the other side. And you're going to tape the end part to the pencil, to the other pencil this time. And now my scroll is inside of my box. And you're going to see that it started with the end, so I'm just going to rewind my scroll so that it starts at the beginning. And lastly, as a final step before showtime, if you'd like, you can also decorate the outside of your box. I'm going to show some pictures here of some possibilities for that. Some people include things on the outside of their box, like other objects that give you an idea of what the story is going to be about. Some people make it look like a stage. It's really up to you. So I hope that you had fun creating a Crankie with me today, and I cannot wait to see your stories on Flipgrid or on Padlet. Talk to you soon.